Let's make sure I'm live. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yay. I was like, first, it was a little bit of pause. I'm like, what's happening? Okay, there we go. Okay, let me let Kalani in. And I'm going to go up here and put us back on record. And we live. Good morning. Happy Galentine's Day. At least I've been told it's Galentine's Day. So I'm going out with a couple of my gal friends for lunch today. I hope you guys are having a great Monday so far. And hello, Palani. I have Adrian, and we are back Monday Motivation. I will tell you, next Monday I will be in Anaheim, California for family reunion. So it depends on. I mean, I'm on a different time zone. What's happening in the world, I'll let you know ahead of time if that's going to be a pop on in the world or not. So we'll go there. I know, Adrian, you're going to be here in Chattanooga. Pulani, you're going to be here as well, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So listen, we're going to dive in, and we're on the Millionaire Real Estate Agent budget, organizational model. And we've been through the organizational model, just the organizational model for the whole landscape of the world. And this just repeats a little bit of that and talks about if you're going for a big business, what that may look like in your world and what are the ways to get to that. So we're going to dive right in to that because this chapter really helps you become more efficient, get organized, which that's an ongoing thing for me. And it talks about employee issues, going the business to the next level, and scheduling challenges, schedules being too full, that type of thing. But we're not going to take the whole chapter today. We're going to start with the beginning, and the organizational model in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book has a figure 42 on page 197 right here. And you can see that I've got three things highlighted there. So then there's you as the CEO. Let me let Janet in. There's you as the CEO, and then it talks about the hires that are underneath you. So in essence, you only have in this model 3 people reporting to you. So you're not managing 15 people, as it were. You're really concentrating on those top key tiers that are managing people underneath themselves. So I've heard Gary talk multiple times about really there's only 5 people or so in that are talking to you. So it shouldn't be too overwhelming when you have the right ones underneath you. So now you guys, I'm going to use different words. I believe that I've used MREA number 2 multiple times because I've heard it, the conversation around it for multiple years. And I've had people ask, when is it coming out? When is that happening? All right. So the very best answer that I heard from James Farron was when it's Gary Keller's one thing. So I was like, there you go. There's it. So now what I'm going to say to you is over time, Gary has made tweaks to what that looks like. And because he's constantly masterminding and chatting and asking questions of top real estate agents. So as he's done that over the years, the model that's in this book has shifted and changed according to what others are doing out in the universe. So excuse my picture right here. I drew from one of my recent classes, the kind of what's happening right now in the world of a picture of someone that is operating a really high level business that is making a lot of volume with people leverage. Okay, so you can see that you are up here. Then you can have someone else that's running the show that you talk to directly, and they have got also a director of lead generation. An expansion director is one of those. You may have seen my abbreviation. That just means they've built a hub and they've duplicated it somewhere, and they're getting a stream of income from that. And they have to have somebody directing that, because if you are in this position and you're creating this big business, you're not going to be able to do all of that. So, and you shouldn't. So you might try, but you need to leverage that off to someone else that's a director or has that D within them to push and to manage that circle, and then just report back to you. So if you need a picture of that, I'd be glad to send it to you. You've probably seen it in your business planning clinic if you did that in the fall. And you're going to want to look for extraordinary talent. So part of this chapter talks about how you do that. And I have that conversation a lot with people looking for their first hire, with finding some assistant or some admin work. All right, so on page 198, the hiring path of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is that agents make the mistake, first of all, of focusing on sales support staff. Right out the gate, they want to go for sales support. If I just had somebody else in here, I'm going to flip off my buyer leads to them, and get that started before setting up systems and creating systems around what they want to be doing. So in essence, agents who hire a buyer's agent first have hired someone who is poorly suited for at least half of their job. I thought that was like a funny statement. Did you guys see that? They're poorly suited for at least half of their job. What does that mean to you guys? Does that mean they didn't hire talent?
It means get the right person on the bus in the right position.
Yes, and it could be they want them to also do admin stuff, right? Have you heard that? And listen, I'm not preaching to anybody, okay? So if you've got somebody doing administrative help and they're doing buyer's agent stuff, they probably don't really have the disc or the KPA for the buyer agent role. If they're loving the admin part of that, they're going to want to focus on doing those things. They may or may not, but you're having them, they really want to shine as a buyer's agent. They're working admin stuff as well, probably for you. And you should hire administrative help first. So that was highlighted. The first hire is admin, whatever that looks like, taking the admin help off. And it helps you focus on the dollar productive work of going out and lead generating. Because remember, at the very beginning, that was what we've been told is our number one job, is lead generating, going out and finding leads. And your second and third hire as well, it's saying should probably be administrative help as well. So stacking that deck where that part of your hub is running well is really the best practice for getting things started. Now, I have also heard Gary say that if he were going into the production aspect of real estate, that he would hire someone that's doing inside sales, making the calls to the database, and someone to show houses, that he would still work that first role of, not before going into buyer's agents and things like that. So that might look like hiring someone to show houses for you, that showing assistant that's talent. And as they've been groomed to that, they could level up to being a buyer's agent in the future. Don't know if you see that. I see a lot more people, I think, now using showing assistants than a couple of years ago. Would you guys agree with that? That more and more people are using agents for showing assistants? What do you think? What are you seeing out there?
I haven't seen any showing assistants, but maybe I just don't know what people are doing, because I've heard of it at the national level, but locally I'm not aware of anyone doing that.
Well, maybe
So I have seen that. I've seen it, and I think a part of it has to do with your schedules. And so I see people who will use other agents because they are, potentially they didn't have somebody watch their business maybe when they went out of town, and something popped up, one of their clients popped up, and so they need someone to help them out just for like a day or something. So it's not necessarily a full-time hire, but just like on a case-by-case basis is what I've seen.
Well,
yeah, I agree with that.
And I know I swap out with another agent when we're out of town, and so there's no money exchanged or anything. We just cover each other.
Yeah, you know what I used to when I first started in the business, we were always encouraged to find someone that we connect with that's another agent in the office to just say, hey, I've got your back, you've got my back. Let's agree on this. So we can take some time, right? We can take our vacation and feel comfortable with who's taking care of the business for us. And we would do that just as the help for each other with no charge. I've got your back, you've got mine. So you can set that up. Let us know in the office if you're out and on vacation,
Right.
someone is taking care of your business, because we have had in the past where someone would call in upset because they weren't able to get a hold of someone and they find out they're on vacation. So it's the best practice to always make sure that we know and that you've got someone covering for you. So we're not, doing 911 calls about what's happened to you.
Well, and if nothing else, you might end up where you're out of phone coverage and then they can't get a hold of you and you don't even know it.
Who do you let know that, by the way? Who should I notify?
Let the front desk know.
Yeah.
Let our director of first impressions know that because they're going to be getting that first call into the office. If it escalates to I'm calling in to the office, then they're going to get that first call.
Okay.
No, we just
have
put
a lot
my
of
phone message
medical
too in my email message.
Yeah,
but you can't do that with text that I know of.
Well, there is, if you're on an Android, there was a service that you could do an auto text, an auto reply, but on Apple, I haven't found that yet.
Is it a separate app?
I believe it was, but there wasn't one, because I loved it when I had a Droid. You could do that as an auto reply. If someone texted you, it would send that auto message. But I don't.
You can do that in settings on Apple.
You can? Okay, well, I'd like to.
Yeah, I think so.
See that.
I see a lot of people's, I'm driving now or whatever, but they're all people with iPhones, and I've got a Droid, so.
So that there you go. So I learned some Kalani. Thank you, because I just after I tried to find it, that's been several years ago. I just didn't go for that anymore, But I do think that people will make graduated hires like that. And I haven't had anyone really ask me about showing assistance lately. Like there was a time where that was a really like a topic. I had that constant ask, who would you get to show houses, right? So I think that the agents have been accustomed to getting people to open doors, Pulani, and maybe not necessarily hiring in their world. And definitely, if you were going to hire somebody to do that, to be in your world permanently, it would have to be a win for you for profitability, but it would have to be a win for them too, in terms of their time, right? And what that looks like. So there may be, if you're looking into doing something like that, have some conversations with some of the teams on how they handle that. But I believe that, if you do that graduated license showing assistance, give them involved in consultation, negotiation, preparing offer while you're avoiding, spending time showing houses all afternoon. So there may be a way that you could set that up that's a win-win. You just want to devote your time and energy on focusing on listings. And as you do that, you'll be able to move into, someone with a sales team handling the buyer part of that and handing it off. So a talented lead buyer specialist will manage your other buyer specialists. So the way that moves up, maybe showing assistant starts out, their talent, you see talent in them, you groom them and coach them, and they become that buyer's agent. And then when you want to add pieces to that sales force, they can move up as talent to be the director of those. So you're going to have someone that has the skill set to be able to direct others underneath them as a team of buyer's agents. So you see how that hiring part is important in finding the right person that can work in the world. They're not going to be happy staying a showing assistant if they've got talent, right? So you've got to recognize and share the vision with them of, I see this in you, let's grow this together, and give them the vision that they're going to have over time, the aptitude and the opportunity to grow into possibly that buyer specialist that's going to be handling the other buyers agents on your team. So that's a little bit of when you build the future cast of who that person is, what you're looking for, so they can do that. You're going to need someone also to handle your leads, sourcing and assigning and tracking your leads in your database. Because if you guys have been working, how many of you have started the 201 club with looking for leads, right? And when I just discovered last week that I had some tags that I needed to change out. They were not here anymore. They were here and they were tagged with old tags. So that's a job in itself. And when done at a high level, that's keeping your engine running smoothly of your business, because that database is your business. So finding someone to handle that part of it's important as well, and their understanding on how important it is, for sure. So you will want to make sure that somebody on your team is tracking conversion rates and what's happening with that. And that, surely, you know, having meetings and coaching and all the things is important for that rainmaker, that person that's going out and getting the leads, making it rain on the rest of the team, to be able to keep that engine going and hold those accountable for those pieces of the bigger picture. So I have agents who are like, not yet. I don't ever want to do that. And that's okay. So maybe some of you guys don't like that part. I'm good with being here. So this book is just simply saying we've got a lot of people that have success, that want to be successful, and what your success looks like. You've got the playbook for it, right? So you have it here if that's something that interests you. Did anything stand out to you on that on page 199 when talking about that, what all that they do and what pieces that you'll need, like the lead coordinator, the buyer specialist?
I don't know that I don't have anything highlighted, but I will say, after having a different business that I ran, I didn't understand when they would tell me that I needed to hire somebody internally. Internally would be that not like a buyer specialist or a listing specialist, but somebody to do administrative work, because it does frees us up to do the things that we're better at least I'm speaking for myself. I finally understand it, because you're never going to do it until you understand why you're doing it.
That's a great point.
I feel like now that I understand it, it would be easier for me to spend the money on administrative, because then it does free me up to go get my own listings, being a solo agent and working with my buyers. And I know they are taking care of that part of it, because that is very, it can be time consuming. I know it doesn't take that much time, but we also need to have a balance. And it's hard to have that balance when you want to do it all yourself. And I am that person. So I am on the verge of wanting to hire somebody, because I understand the benefit. And something that I talked to Johnny Smith about, because I talk to him from time to time, and he hired, he's got a lot of coaches too, which I think are important, but hiring that person, it frees him up to have more closings, and then you have the money. But if we never hire that person and go out on faith and free yourself up, then you're really never going to be able to reach maybe that ultimate goal that you could when you pass some of those administrative duties off first.
And I agree with all of that. And I think that's the hard part for everyone is getting past that fear and that leap of faith, because they are now have someone in their world they're responsible for making them successful, and they have hopes and dreams. And I think, and when you look at it the way you do, Adrian, is an investment in you. And that makes a little bit of a mindset shift for you. So continue. I think that once somebody gets started on that, it doesn't always mean that every single hire that someone makes is going to be the best and is it, right? Sometimes there's a journey around that, and it talks about that and not being in a hurry to hire, but to take your time and finding that right person and thinking about where could that person go after they're that admin. Are they going to be able to direct the whole team for me because they're that good at directing and an admin and holding people accountable? I had that, I know, after you get someone that's helping you with admin, it talks about buyer specialists, talks about a lead coordinator, just handling the lead part of it and keeping that humming for the sales team. The last piece of the puzzle is the seller side of the business. So that's why a lot of times I'll have agents come and they'll be like, well, I want to be on a team, but I want to list, right? Well, sometimes it just depends on if that team is hiring, if they're at their place in their growth to be ready to hire someone that's doing listings. Now, I mean, this is just me saying, most of the time, if you're brand spanking new out of real estate school, that's probably not something they're going to be hiring you for, because most agents, when they get started, they focus a lot on working with buyers, right? I think that's just typical, only because buyers are more fun and they're easier to find. And so they may or may not be interested in someone that doesn't have a track record of listing already, because they're wanting to take their listing machine, which is running their business, and adding someone that's got skill in closing, skill in negotiate, all of those things in those pieces. So that might not necessarily be a hire that they implement a new agent. So I think sometimes the agents that come in new from the business don't understand that piece, and they want to be able to do it all. And if you want to be able to do it all, you might just need to be an individual agent if that's the case. So there are a lot of different models out there that sometimes run both listing and sales at the same time. But for this purpose, this is how this is set up.
Sally?
Yes.
I do think when I started, one of the reasons that I wanted to do everything is because I wanted to learn the business. Because I think also if you know what you have to do, then once you've done it, when you pass off that the responsibilities to somebody else, you actually know how to watch them and make sure that it's being done correctly, because you understand the process. Because if you just, for me, if I had just hired somebody and things started falling through the crack, I wouldn't be able to identify as easily because I hadn't done it. And once you've already done it, that person also can't say, well, if they're not wanting to do it or they have an issue, you're like, well, I've done it before, I understand this. And you're also a better leader when you've already done it and you understand it. So for me, I think it was valuable, at least at first when I wasn't very busy, to do that whole process myself.
I agree with that.
agree.
You have to know, you know what you want that to look like. You've experienced it. And I agree with that. It's that you have, if you're plugging into training, you're going to know some of the pieces, but you do have to build your listing presentation yourself, and what that looks like. And every person on this screen would have a different listing presentation, but you would have some of the same components. You would have what I call the big rocks, right? But you would style it differently if I went with each one of you to a listing presentation. So I think that that's where you build those skills for sure. So that leads, go ahead, Janet.
I was going to say, like Adrian said, I wanted to do my first transaction in Tennessee without a transaction coordinator, even though I intended to get one right away, because every state's different in the way the closing works and what has to be done and the paperwork and all. But going back to that, I think you've got all the virtual assistants you can get too without a whole lot of risk. And yet I know Gene, my mind went blank on his last name, but anyway, thank you, Gene Rivers.
I love
says that, they can be great, but then they can also delay your actually getting somebody on the ground who can actually add to your team and help you move forward and answer the phones and all that stuff. So it's
That's
kind
true.
of trying to understand, when do you get a transaction coordinator? When do you get a virtual assistant? When do you actually bite the bullet and make that first hire?
Yeah, I think those are all great questions that people ask. And I can see that wisdom around if you get that virtual assistant, maybe you've chosen that that's just how you're going to operate that the entire time. A good person to ask, Carol Craig had, of course, a fabulous assistant for years. And that assistant had some different opportunities that came around. And they have, instead of putting another person in the chair, they have hired some virtual assistants around that. So maybe pick her brain about that and what that looks like right now. And if that's just a fix to right now, or if I haven't heard any indication that they're hiring, but it could be a placeholder for while you're looking for talent to bring in maybe part-time and ease that into what that looks like. If you are interested in on page 200, and I'm going to skip over to the 7 recruiting sources, 200 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it's got basic job descriptions of some of the pieces that you might implement in the future in your business. And so you can see if you're like, well, what are they supposed to do? It helps you to build what you would consider a 30, 60, 90 around what these folks in your business are supposed to be doing for you and what you expect of them. So it gives you a little bit of an overview of that, which I thought was nice. And then on page 202, it says the path to people leverage. And of course, this is from the original book. Now, I know I showed you a little bit of a different picture over here, right? That some people are doing now. But this was from the book. Just give you an idea of both of those are admins on both the book and the update. Level 2 is an admin. And then on level 3, you have a lead admin, someone handling leads, and then a transaction coordinator. So it's got that, and I can give that if you'd like. On page 203, talks about how you're going to find talented people. So you start this journey and you want to know places to find the talent that you're looking for, because I've heard, and I believe it might have been Gene Rivers that said, you have to at least have 100 applications to get one person, guys, right? The quality is in the quantity, right? So just know that you have to get ready, your mindset, ready, set, go to do this thing, hiring. So on page 203, it says ads are a good idea, allied resources, you know, the friends that you know, that their talent, they may know talented people. So that would be title companies, you know, any bankers, all those folks that you're going to connect with, ask them who they know, job websites, temporary employment agencies, permanent employment agencies, other agents in your marketplace, real estate schools. Of course, this is talking about all the hires, right? Different things for you to look for. So there are 7 recruiting sources for you to focus on. You might have to put fishing poles in all of them when you get started. So you can make a plan of what that looks like on who you're looking for, make a missing persons report. And on page 204, it gives you a little bit of recruiting source, dive deeper, right? A little bit of commentary there around each one. Do any of you have something that you do in the past, or that you would do in your first place to go look for hiring a talented person in your business?
I'm not at that point at this time, but I have noted a tag in my database for talent.
Okay, I love that. So you can go through, as you've talked to people, you're putting them on the bench, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're talent. So when I come back later, I'm going to pull and sort all my tags that say talent to remind myself of this. I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea, Janet. And I will tell you this, because it's about time for us to go, that Kathy Love, of course, she's hired a lot of people. Okay. And so she's gone through this process multiple times, and she's told us that she would love to help those that are looking to hire administrative help or some key person that way. She'd be glad to share what she does in putting out Indeed ads, skills-based tests that are attached to it. We have a Keller personality assessment that she attaches. So email her if you're looking for that help, and she can give you a little bit of resources of what she does and the process that she goes through.
And take career visioning.
One thing that you guys should also consider, because we have the universities here, you can always talk about potentially doing like a work study with maybe a marketing department or somebody in the business department. So don't forget about the college students who are looking to grow their portfolio and work in a real business.
I love that, Kalani. Thank you for bringing that up. That is excellent, an excellent ad. Absolutely. Well, you guys, this has been a fun conversation, and I look forward to, I'm going to check out to see if it'll be like 4:00 in the morning when I have to do a Monday motivation when I'm in Anaheim. And you'll get a lot of lives from me and from Jay while we're out there, because we're expecting to get so many wonderful things from Keller Williams. Especially, there's going to be a Crack the Code playbook that's free that we're going to be getting, where the company has taken all the different pieces of what you do in business and giving you like a diagram like this. Imagine this type of a thing that says, oh, so you want to do this in Command, or even they've taken it so far to give you how to do it in other databases that you might be using. It's going to be phenomenal. And they've been spent a lot of time on it. I'm excited to bring that back to you guys. And I know that you're going to have a fabulous week. Happy Valentine's Day. I love y'all.
Can I do a quick shout out to Adrienne?
Yes.
Because she told us on Pivot Shift about her weekend, and it was really amazing. So
Very
Okay.
nice, very nice. I love that you guys are all learning based. You are leaders in our market center, for example, of our culture. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I am blessed and grateful to just be a part of this. I mean, I love KW and you guys are amazing. So I'll see you soon and I'll look for that update on your one fabulous weekend, Adrian.
Okay. Love you, Sally. Thank you for
Love
everything
you.
you do.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.